Prime Minister Mark Carney, what do you think of the series of conditions that the U.S. trade rep says Canada has to meet in order to extend CUSMA, including bolstering market access to U.S. dairy and addressing the provincial bans on U.S. alcohol? Does this make you feel more encouraged or discouraged about reaching an agreement with U.S. President Donald Trump? And Premier Ford, if you could weigh in afterwards, please.
Well, I'll put this in the context. These are a subset of issues of a much bigger discussion. We've been clear about our approach to supply management. We continue to stand by that. We'll continue to protect supply management. And we continue to see tremendous benefits, first and foremost for Canada, but very much for the United States, of pooling resources where possible in the auto sector, in the steel sector, in the aluminum sector, in the lumber, for forest products. And we will enter those discussions on the review of CUSMA in that spirit. The President and I had a long conversation with President Sheinbaum about this a little under 2 weeks ago, which set out the broad parameters for the review of CUSMA. We'll work closely together with the Government of Ontario, other provinces that are affected by potential adjustments there. And we will always pursue an agreement that is in the interest of Canadian workers, Canadian families, and we'll only sign an agreement that's consistent with that. And
Prime Minister Carney, what is on our list to strengthen CUSMA? Do we have any conditions besides lifting sectoral tariffs?
Well, we have, I would say several things. One, we see value in truly pursuing integration in our auto sector, building the next generation in the auto sector. We see value in the aerospace sector. We see value to both countries. I'll give you a concrete example with respect to aluminum, which is that in effect, Canadian exports of aluminum to the United States saves the United States the equivalent of 10 Hoover dams of electricity. This is just sensible for both countries. But in order for, and there are many other examples of where working together makes the two economies, the three economies in the case of CUSMA, stronger. But in order for the United States to have those advantages, we need secure market access, and we need stable market access, a return to a degree of certainty. So we need a structure that aligns the incentives across both sides of the border, particularly on the American side, that will provide consistency of that market access. There are many, many opportunities to grow our economies together, and I haven't touched yet on emerging strategic sectors. Critical minerals, we're talking about the Ring of Fire today. That is an opportunity, first and foremost, for the people of Ontario, including Indigenous peoples resident in Ontario. It's an opportunity for Canada. It's a potential opportunity for the United States, but it's not an assured opportunity for the United States. It's part of a bigger discussion in terms of our trading relationship, because we have other partners around the world, in Europe, for example, who are very interested in participating in those value chains. So there's a broad set of things that work for Canada, but if I were to boil it down to one element, which is as we define the new trading relationship, to have an alignment of incentives so that that certainty is reestablished for Canadian businesses, Canadian households. And that may be a different set of activities than we had before.
Next question, Mike.
Prime Minister Mike Lukather with CTV News. I wanted to ask you something, just to be clear, based on a number of interviews you've done recently. Is it your view that if Premier Ford had not launched that ad in the United States, that sectoral tariffs would be lower right now?
It was the case that we were close to an agreement. We didn't get that agreement. The terms of that agreement, from our perspective, are still on the table. The U.S. has not picked up that part of the negotiation. An agreement that would benefit, first and foremost, Canadian workers in steel, aluminum, in energy, some other sectors, but would also benefit the United States tremendously. My judgment is that that is now going to roll into the broader CUSMA negotiations. So we're unlikely, given the time horizons coming together, to have a sectoral agreement. Although, if the United States wants to come back on that in those areas, we're always ready there. We're very ready. And I'll make one other point, head back. We are very ready on forest products to strike an agreement. And the United States has affordability challenges, including in the housing sector and the forest products sector, and we can make an immediate difference to affordability in the United States, to the benefit, yes, of Canadian workers, but also to American consumers.
Follow-up.
Kenzie Gray with Global News. I just want to follow up on what your answer to Mike was. You were not expecting that there's going to be any kind of sectoral agreement with the U.S. government, that the tariff deal will be done at the CUSMA table?
These processes are coming together now. It's possible. We're ready. We could, if the U.S. wanted to sit down this weekend, we could sit down this weekend and hammer out a sectoral deal. I'm confident of that from our side. But there is now a process. The U.S. is doing consultations for what they call USMCA, we call CUSMA, and they'll finish those, and then that will roll into this review process. Let me make one general point I'm going to hand back, which is part of fighting for the jobs here in Ontario, fighting for the jobs across Canada, is doing things like today's announcement. This is good under any circumstance because it's going to build big things faster, it's going to create more opportunities, it's going to create better futures. But it also puts us in a stronger position, in those negotiations. We have lots to do. We're ready to sit down on the weekend, negotiate any weekend, anytime, but we're also busy. We're busy building Ontario, we're busy building Canada, and we're going to build it faster.
Follow-up.
During the election, on multiple occasions, you said that supply management will never be on the table in negotiations with Donald Trump. Is that still your position? And Premier, on that point, are you concerned that saving supply management would mean that sectors like the auto sector would be more negatively impacted in trade negotiations?
C'est jamais la gestion offre, c'est jamais sur la table. Ça reste la même position. Not on the table. We have discussions. There's a negotiation. Each side has a set of issues. They put those issues on the table. They're measured in the dozens of issues. The U.S. has 54 issues with Mexico, for example. So when they're referenced, you have to put that in the context, and we'll always look for ways to benefit our workers, our families, as part of a broader agreement.
Are you comfortable substituting Ontario's environmental assessment process for projects that may land in a special economic zone under the legislation the Premier passed, even though that might mean proponents can bypass certain environmental protections, including in areas like the Ring of Fire?
Well, to be clear, we have the federal government's responsibilities in environmental protection. For example, in fish habitation, migratory birds, other areas. We retain these responsibilities. And we discharge these responsibilities, including through this agreement. So in areas where, and this is part of the issue, so let's take a big step back and then I'll get more specific. Part of the issue that has bedeviled projects is you have the province of Ontario doing their job, sometimes in a sequence of decisions across. It can be labor standards, it can be Indigenous consultations, their own environmental responsibilities. The federal government over here doing our job, but again in sequence, nothing lined up, same information or very similar information being provided to different sets of people, and next thing you know, it's 8 or 10 years. So the first thing that this does is it gets everybody effectively in the same room, Ontario and the federal government. We know what our responsibilities are.